Because I could have sworn both of his forms had the G-string of justice.
Too hot to handle.
Welcome back, Ranger Nation, to the Ranger Nation podcast. We are going to have a Ranger Nation conversation today, and with me I have John.
Hello.
Seth.
Greetings and salutations.
My goodness, I remember I need to put Seth last. We have Jason.
What's up, guys?
And we have Bryce.
I don't even know how to follow up what Seth just said, so hi.
Yeah, note to self, Seth goes last. So today, what we thought we would talk about is not the show that we have grown to know and love over the last 30 years, but the products and plastic that is advertising non-stop. The toys. We all love them in our own different ways. Obviously, some of us love collecting the figures, some of us love collecting the more of the role-play items. Some of us are more Zords and the mecha side of stuff. But over the years, obviously, you've had some really amazing releases from Bandai and from Hasbro, and then you've also had some pretty shocking cheap releases, clearly like just quick cash grabs, and what's going on currently within the world of Hasbro with terrible quality control. And I thought what we'd start with, if we all have a nice little fond flashback to nostalgia, does anyone remember their actual first toy that they got from the show, of what it was?
I think my first one was the original Megazord. It's the first one I remember getting.
And was that at the time of MMPR airing as well?
Yes, actually, I was a stupid kid. I wasn't even aware there were toys until my parents bought me the VHS of Day of the Dumpster. And they used to have those commercials for Bandai before the episode. It was like, too hot to handle. So that was my first exposure to the toys. And I needed that Megazord. And I finally got it for my birthday in, would have been 1994, I guess. And I was just in love immediately with the Megazords.
Looks like you've had quite a few of the iterations of the original Megazord as well, haven't you?
Unfortunately, I was stupid, and when I moved many, many years ago, I got rid of all of my original toys, which just breaks my heart now. But currently, I have the Bandai Legacy Megazord. I have the Soul of Chogokin Megazord. And I have the Mini Pla. I think that's all I currently have on display. Somewhere I have the really 2010 re-release Megazord. That's buried in a box in my closet somewhere.
Any plans on getting the Zap version?
No. None at all.
Straight up, no.
Yeah, just don't. Just don't. I have it, and I don't recommend it.
If I can find it on sale for like $50 somewhere, maybe, but for what they're charging for it, no. It's not worth it.
I have a friend who has it, and he says he's had all the ones you've had. He's had the Soul of Chogokin, he's had the original, he's had the Legacy version. He actually loves it. He thinks it's the best representation of the show, like suit, outside of that really big vinyl statue that was like just the show suit. He thinks the posability on it is what makes it good, like the fact you've got that articulation in it.
But see, I still have a huge problem with the Legacy Megazord. And
oh, really?
It's only because it uses just the die-cast parts and a little bit more, detail to it. But, you're using that 2010 mold. And, to me, it was not... I mean, Bandai had a very good idea with the Legacy Megazord. But, unfortunately, it hampers itself by being that 2010 mold, as well as hampering Dragonzord then later on. It all still looks good.
Yeah. That was
but
horrible.
whenever you get to like the Ninja Megazord and you get to, the Falcon Tiger Zord, even the Thunder Megazord to an extent, even though it had its own problems, you can tell that there was a different level of complexity and detail that they wanted to make sure was a little bit more show oriented and looked a little bit more like the show. But the Legacy just doesn't pull off.
No, it's clear it was just a quick cash grab thing. Oh, we have this mold of the 2010 version. Let's just slap some die-cast metal in there and put the stickers on for everyone and charge $70 for it.
Yeah, and looking back now, $70 isn't too bad. But
No, it's not, is it?
But I mean, yeah, it's a good Megazord. It really is a good Megazord. It's just I never really considered the Legacy Megazord a legacy item because I don't think it fits quite the criteria as what the later ones do. So I just look at it as kind of like this mid ground of let's see if this works, and it did. So they went off on their own tangent with that. But it's kind of a weird area for me. But the Zap, no. Even at $50, I would say probably don't get it.
Even 50?
Yeah, I do. After having it for a little while, I really don't think it's worth it.
Going back to the Legacy, even with Dragon Zord, which came out next, there was no previous mold of that, so it was all brand new sculpting. It was beautiful, but it didn't really work with the Legacy Megazord because the Legacy Megazord was based on something else. So it was all retrofitted. You have this beautiful Dragon Zord, which just doesn't really work with what it's supposed to work with.
Yep, and that's kind of what my problem is with it, is that, you had something that started working, fans really loved it, and then, oh crap, now you're pigeonholed into making, either you remake the original one, or you make the new items fit the old stuff. And that's one of those weird areas where you kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because it's going to cost you money no matter what. So,
well, and for some reason they kind of carried that thinking through with the other Legacy Megazords, because it just seemed like everything that came after something else was retrofitted. It wasn't planned in advance. Like the Legacy Tiger Zord is gorgeous. It's one of the best toys Bandai ever made. But it absolutely does not work with the Thunder Megazord. The Mega Tiger Zord is hideous. It doesn't work at all.
No, I'll definitely agree with you on that one too. And you're right. You're just trying to make everything else fit. And of course, I never connected the Falcon Zord to the Ninja. I don't ever think I even got the Ninja. Either I didn't get the Falcon.
That was horrible.
But it's a horrible connection. I mean, even just looking at it.
It's so loose. If you look at it wrong, it falls off.
See, I never actually owned any deluxe kind of iteration of the original Megazord.
Either I just had the regular original one from like the 90s.
No, see, I didn't even have that. My first Megazord was the Ninja Megazord, but I got that. I think it might be like In Space was on, and we found it on sale in a shop locally, and I was like, okay, I'll grab that. But my actual very, very first toy from memory, and I can still kind of picture it, like the moment my nan and granddad, they walked in holding it was the talking like 8-inch White Ranger, and it's been yellowed to now, unfortunately.
Or would you call it champagne?
Oh, actually, you know what? That is the exact shade that it is. My word, that's what they've done. Oh, guys, we cracked it.
So really, we had the Zenith Ranger a long time ago.
Wow, yeah. But I found it about maybe a year ago, and the batteries still work. It's a very the speaker on it is very fuzzy and muddled, but it's like you can hear it go like that, and I was like, wow, it works still. So Bandai made good toys back in the day.
A few years ago, I actually got a vintage Tiger Zord, which I never got when I was a kid and always wanted. When its head fell off on the show, I was heartbroken because I knew it meant I would never get that toy. I found one on eBay a few years ago, and it still had the original factory batteries in it, and it still worked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm a little hesitant on leaving batteries in things. So
Yeah, same. I don't do it now, but this kid me didn't care.
well,
Yeah.
there's still some figures that I've come across, just like in toy hunting or whatever, like the Light Star Rangers from In Space. You push the back of them and they're and they still light up to this day.
I always hurt my thumb so much pressing them as a kid. The buttons were terrible.
They were horrible.
Yeah. I remember, like, it must be as a kid being able to press them, and you had to literally like really force your whole hand onto it, and then by the time you turned around to look at it, it had gone out. But yeah. Anyway, Jason, what was your first toy?
So actually, okay. So people have heard me say this before. I didn't get into Rangers until about Turbo. So during the Turbo movie. So, being the car guy that I was, I really, really, really wanted a Turbo Megazord. And unfortunately, when I went to Toys R Us, it wasn't there. But they had the Rescue Megazord. So I picked it up. And you know what? Still to this day, it is still probably in my top 3 favorite Megazords of all time. And it just has that cool triple feature. You've got the vehicle, you've got the individual bot modes, and then you have the full Megazord mode. And it's big, it's heavy, it's just really cool. So that to me is one of my greatest memories of Power Rangers is that was my first toy.
See, that's brilliant.
I still want that one really bad.
Is that the last Megazord that features everyone having their own individual humanoid form as well as a separate form?
I think so.
Wait, you ask if that's the only time they did that?
Yeah, like obviously you had Super Zero Megazord, which had again 5 humanoid things.
You also had it
in one.
Titan Megazord, yeah.
Well, no, they weren't all. Oh, they were all humanoid. That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because they were the Rangers were actually the Zords in that season.
Yeah.
Don Brothers count, or are we just Power Rangers?
We're not the what would it be? What would it be? The equivalent, the Sentai Nation.
And either way, I'd be hesitant to even count Don Brothers because isn't Momotaro the only one whose Zord form is humanoid?
I thought the rest of them were.
Nah, because you got one that's a wolf, one that's a bird. I don't know what the yellow girl is, a demon or something, and then you have a monkey. So.
Well, Seth, instead of talking about Sentai, why don't you tell us what your first toy was?
Well, I'm not going to have a lot to talk about with it because it's not super special. But one day,
it's special in your heart. It's okay.
My grandmother brought home a blue Dino Thunder Ranger from a secondhand store. And it wasn't a regular blue Dino Thunder Ranger. It was a blue Battleized Ranger.
Which Battleizer? Is it the Dragon Yo-Yo one?
It would have, yeah. If he had been complete, he would have had his Dragon Yo-Yo. His weird stretchy arms.
I'm going to be really honest with you on that. I like those. I like that Battleizer, and that might be a discussion for another time. But I like that Battleizer, and I like the toy version of it. I don't like the aspect of it, but I do like how it looks.
I just liked when the toys would give Battleizers to the Rangers that didn't have one in the show.
Yeah,
the male Rangers that didn't have one in the show.
Oh yeah, there's that. Because I had one toy that was like Time Force Blue, but with Eric's Battleizer. I remember thinking that was really cool.
Oh yeah, I had the 3 of them. Yeah, I had the red, blue, and green of them. I never got the actual Quantum one, which was the only one that was in the show out of them.
I mean, we haven't even gotten to what Battleizers were yet, and I saw the Silver Ranger on the shelf from In Space, and I'm like, oh, cool. I got that one, and was horribly that he wasn't in the show. Like, what the hell, man? It's like every time I was like, oh, is this when he's going to get it? And then, you'll see him in the Mega Winger, and he's got the Battleizer on his wrist, and you're like, okay, maybe this is when it's going to be it. And no.
Nope.
So horribly disappointed, and then from then on, it is just Red Rangers only for me.
That might have been a blessing. Battleizers were kind of rough until Time Force.
No, I thought the Los Galaxy one was good. To be fair, but
Ooh,
yeah,
no,
I just didn't like. Yeah.
Thought that was
Which
the
one did
worst
you say, Bryce? Did you say Time Force?
Yeah, that's when I really started thinking like battleizers were not looking stupid.
See, I feel like Time Forces did look stupid.
Time Force looks like a giant chicken. Just for the I mean,
It's a badass chicken though.
a screaming fire chicken. You know, that's basically
Uh-huh.
what he is. I mean, look at his helmet. I mean, for crying out loud. I like Eric's Mega Battle. I think I had that toy. I thought it was the better one of the two, but no,
Agreed.
I love
Battleizer
them both.
toys. Hey, that's fine. That's fine. I just think he still looks like a giant chicken.
Oh, actually, no, I take that back now that you mention it because I did like the Lightspeed like Mega Battle Blue and Greens. I had both of those toys and I thought they looked awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, speaking of battleizers, obviously the Bandai would often do a really cheap remold or repaint of the Morpher for toy sales. Of what would they use to get the battleizer? So, speed round. What's your favorite battleizer Morpher? Start with you, Jason.
Oh, favorite battleizer morpher. I actually like Mystic Force's Red Dragon Fire Warrior or whatever it was called. I like the reuse of Daggeron's Solar Morpher, and I like the dragon head on it. It's translucent. It just looks really cool. One in
It was a nice change to it, adding the head, wasn't it?
Yes. The thing is, the toy is a little crappy. I kind of like it for its.
It was around that time that a lot of Bandai's roleplay stuff got very
yeah.
hollow and quite cheap.
Yeah, that actually happened right around Ninja Storm, actually, when they started going kind of more crappy. But but as far as that goes, I mean, in the show, it's actually the grip phone from Mod Ranger with the head on it. But anyway, I think that's probably my favorite of the morphers for the particular battleizers. I like that one a lot.
Who's next?
I really don't care about those, so hit me.
There you go, John. my favorite would be the Ninja Storm one, just because I feel like it was a nice change of pace. Well, not change of pace, because obviously it was the first like reusing a Morpher, but it added quite a bit of nice sculpting and detail to his own one, rather than using like the Six Rangers one, which became like a common thing by the end of the Disney era.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do like that one a lot. It did have a nice little look to it, and the nice thing about it is what you see on the screen, if I remember correctly, is what you get in the package. I don't think that it was anything different. So that was one of the things too, is like whenever you got to a battleizer for the show, more often than not, that particular item was the one used in the show, except for like the grip phone issue, but they still use some Japanese changers there and everything too. But that one was from the toy itself, so you had a really nice kind of show accurate morpher there.
Seth, did you have one?
Is it cheating to just say Connors because it's just his regular morpher with a new faceplate?
No, it's not cheating. That is what
that's a different morpher.
That's what they released. Yeah, that's what they released.
Well, then Connors, yes. Connors is my favorite battleizer morpher.
Nice. And Bryce?
I think my favorite is actually Andros's, just because it wasn't just a recolor or like reskin of the regular morpher. It was actually a completely new thing. And
I'm surprised no one said Wes's was their favorite, where he's a ball of fire.
I was just about to ask, like, wait, Wes had one?
It's hard to make a toy out of a ball of fire, to be fair.
That's true, yeah.
No, I really liked how Andros's was, in addition to just being a completely separate morpher, it did more than just give him his armor. Like, it was a whole thing.
For those of who have seen Mega Ranger, what did number 3 do in Mega Ranger?
I haven't seen Mega Ranger yet.
Oh man, it's been a while.
Because obviously it didn't do the battleizer, because that was clearly Ranger exclusive. So I always wondered. I've never actually bothered looking it up. What number 3 did in Mega Ranger.
I was thinking that so number 1 does the punch, number 2 does the slice, and
number 3 does a backhand.
Ranger Wiki, away!
Yeah, I'm already on there.
Our research team is hard at work. High at work? What on earth did I just say? My word.
Hard at work.
Apparently, it powers up the spiral saber.
Yeah,
makes
that's
sense.
it. So his Spiral Saber booster mode thing, whenever it's all together in its combined form, it gives him more of a
Okay.
charge there.
Okay, so we didn't lose out on much then, really.
No, and I actually think that's one cool thing that In Space did was, kind of left it kind of ambiguous of like Andros is kind of terrified of using it because he doesn't know how much power it actually has, and then Sylvie, whatever the heck her name was, the little brat, pushes that 03, and it's like you little,
She
What
has
are they
no
doing?
idea what
Well,
she
yeah, who
started,
knows?
and I was like,
So anyway, I did like how In Space probably handled the Battleizer. I think In Space and Ninja Storm handled the Battleizer really, really well. Other shows, they were just kind of a handout kind of thing. So
yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, having just gotten off of Ninja Storm, Shang used his a lot more than most Rangers so far in my rewatch anyway. Like we went from the Rangers maybe using the Battleizer a couple times to like Shane, as soon as he got it, he was like always using it. I thought that was cool.
yeah, and then you
Yeah,
had
no, I did like that as well.
Jack with his battle thong.
You don't talk about the battle thong.
Hey.
But the main form is cool. Just the other form is just not.
'Cause I could have sworn both of his forms had the the G-string of justice.
Wow.
Both of its forms did, yes, but
I believe they do, yeah.
at least you've got a little bit more bits covering stuff.
We'll put it this way: one of them, I'll say, one of them, but a battle thong of justice, G-string of justice, is certainly stand out enough to make its way into the Sentai, because obviously that's the only battleizer that got adapted into the Magi Ranger
I
team.
still can't believe of all the ones to do it, that one was the one.
I think it's because they butchered Rick in the process. They were like, "Yeah, that looks good. Let's go with that."
Yeah, what actually happened to Kruger's head? Because the Japanese team wanted that head really bad from our production, so
And then didn't use it.
and they didn't use it. So
Wow. Maybe just to like study it and be like, how can we make better actual animal heads?
They never did.
And then clearly they didn't learn from it.
No.
So,
because
Duocher, they never did.
now they're just CGI.
Ugh.
So going back to our primary topic, the toys in general. Obviously, we all at some stage were young, maybe not a full-on child, maybe in like early teens, but we all got into the show at a younger age. Did we have a favorite toy as a child or as a younger person, as opposed to what you have now as an adult?
I'll do this one just because I don't really have a relationship with the toys as an adult like the rest of you guys do. All of it's just been childhood. But favorite toy was definitely the Wild Force Megazord. Like, that's part of the reason Wild Force is one of my favorite seasons today. I love the base Megazord. I loved how every Zord you got after that could be added on and mixed and matched, and that might be the reason Wild Force is the only season where I actually care about the Zords, because they were just so fun, like, put together and mixed into like different combinations.
The second I saw the Red Dragon Thunder Zord in the Mutiny, I needed that toy. And I got it for Christmas that year, and it just blew my mind. I still love that toy. I'm heartbroken. I ended up throwing it away, and I did find one on eBay a few years ago, but it's missing some parts, and I really want that toy again.
Mm-hmm.
And the Legacy one, it looks really good, but the legs are all loose, and it just wasn't well executed.
No, it really wasn't, and that's a shame because it looks good.
It's gorgeous, yeah, but the legs are all wobbly.
I had so many problems. So I guess my deal was the Astromorpher. So
My God, I loved that toy.
I used the hell out of that thing. I mean, I wore the gold off of the emblem on the top and stuff. I used it like nonstop because it was my first Ranger Morpher. Because after getting into Turbo, there wasn't really much Turbo stuff left on the shelves, and I ended up getting a Turbo Morpher later on. But the Astro Morpher was my first Morpher, and as a kid, teen, whatever, but it was, man, I used the hell out of that thing.
Morphers were always really fun toys.
They were, and mine's actually close in name to that, but it's a little bit different. It's mine that would be the green Astro Cycle from Lost Galaxy. Right, I've always loved the design of those bikes, and as a kid especially, I like the way they're not Harleys, but they're more like the sitting bikes with your arms up rather than like the super speed bikes and things like that. But I love the design of the figures, like the Gingerman design, and it was around this time that I started to kind of see more occasional reruns on the TV of Mighty Morphin. But obviously, those toys were long gone by this point, and I didn't get many of them. I didn't get many Mighty Morphin Zeo or Turbo toys outside of like basic figures for Zeo and Turbo. It was hard to find over here. But I used that Green Ranger figure that came with the bike as my evil Green Ranger. And I still, to this day, when I look at that design, I don't know what it is. It's just in the helmet, I see more of Dragon Ranger, more of like Tommy, essentially. And so I'm always really partial to the Astro Cycle specifically because it was that one that had like the silver gloves and boots for some reason, Bandai. But yeah, so that was always my favorite. Like, I always used it when I needed a villain, when there was the new season. So when like even Lightspeed, Time Force, or then when I needed an evil ranger, out came Damon in his really cool green suit. I was like, right, you're playing, and because as well, like the little arm piece you could put on, he could have pointy shoulders, which kind of had the silhouette then of the shield. So yeah, it worked for me every year after year. I loved it. With a close second being the actual Transmorpher from Lost Galaxy. I think Lost Galaxy was just the first one where the toys were so much more available for me. And I think also coming off of Countdown to Destruction, where I was convinced as like a 5-year-old, this show's never coming back. Oh my god, this is the end. Oh look, there's a promo for another one. Oh lovely, okay, that's good. I can dry my tears. Yeah, I love how simple the design is on it. It's such a simple design, but I love the look of it. It's the only one I've actually been tempted in the past to get the Ginga brace in like a new inbox to just like have it as a display piece, just because I love the look of it because it's so like retro looking almost.
Oh yeah, well see, and I have quite a few Japanese changers and everything, so I've got a boxed Ginga brace, and it's cool. The sounds play a little bit longer, and they have just a little slightly different sound. Same way with the Chrono Changer. There's actually a few other sounds on it. I think there's actually a game on it. I can't remember if the American version had that or not. It's been a long time since I've reviewed all those, but and the sounds are slowed down just a little bit. So there was a time there where they shifted the sounds just slightly on them enough that they either didn't last as long or were a little higher pitched, that the Japanese versions were better. Their sounds.
Okay.
So anyway,
we'll edit this out, but yeah, I can always just denoise that bit, so no worries if it's too much.
Okay.
Seth, we didn't go to you on your?
Not. Well, mine is a lot newer than the rest of yours.
Okay.
Because you're a child.
Yes.
Because you're our local youth.
That is true. The Samurai Clawzord.
Oh God, yeah.
It was the first toy that I saved up to buy with my own money, and I overpaid for it on eBay. But I don't regret it.
Oh, how different was that to the Japanese one?
Pardon?
How different was that to the Japanese one? Because obviously Samurai was quite varied, wasn't it, in its interpretations of.
In terms of function, it was one of the few samurais that didn't really lose much.
Mm.
But it didn't have a removable disc. It didn't have any lights or sounds.
Oh, was it the? It wasn't the small one that came with the figure. It was the actual big deluxe
No,
one as
no,
well.
the deluxe one
Okay,
would transform.
yeah. Okay, I mean, I always thought, yeah, the idea of it being like a crawfish, I suppose, or like a, what was it? Is it a lobster?
Technically, ebi could be shrimp, crawfish, or lobster, I think. So,
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I always found that as interesting as a concept to have that as like as all. So I can imagine as a kid that would be even more like, oh yeah, this has been amazing kind of thing. So that's cool.
it's really unique. And it's still one of the only Zords I've kept.
Oh, you still have it? That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think obviously a lot of us would have got rid of toys over time, especially like the older ones. Like I said, it's a miracle that I found that talking White Ranger in the loft the other day. But
My
yeah.
mom sold all mine.
Oh, that's not good. So, I believe I covered everyone there, didn't I?
Yes.
By the
Yeah.
way? Yeah. Well, let's go back to another speed round, and this is a nice and simple question. Favorite legacy item? Start off with John.
I would have to say the Ninja Megazord, just because I think Bandai just really nailed the concept of the legacy Megazords by then. Like they had finally integrated the Zord Builder concept in a way that made sense and wasn't detrimental. And really, the only downside to those toys is, again, the way the Falcon Zord connects on the back. It's just very loose. It doesn't stay on. But otherwise, it's gorgeous.
Bryce.
So the Legacy line came out like at a point where I stopped really caring that much about collecting Power Ranger toys, but if I had to pick a favorite, I guess I would go with the Legacy Mighty Morpher. Just because I remember they were selling it back when I worked at GameStop, and I just remember thinking, if I made more money than a GameStop employee gets paid, I actually would have bought it.
Yeah, mine would be the Legacy Power Morpher as well.
Still used for filming.
Yes.
Few. Yeah, exactly. It looks brilliant. It looks so solid, and it is solid. It's got a nice weight to it and everything.
I love the weathered coins.
Yeah. It's just there's not a bad thing to say about it. It was so good, and the fact it was only 40 quid is absolutely game changing.
Yeah, it was actually reasonably priced.
Okay, so since a couple of you picked the Power Morpher, which I think is a good choice, I'm going to go with the Dragon Dagger.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That one, right?
I never owned that, and I always wanted.
Well,
that.
and I'm not a huge Green Ranger fan. Well, okay,
I'm not either, but it's a great toy.
It's a great toy, and the Hasbro one just doesn't compare. I mean, it's cool in its own right, but the Legacy one is it's heavy. It looks great on display. It's balanced nicely as far as its detail and designs go. It's just a really cool piece. And it was, aside from the Megazords, that was the first, I think that was the first role play that came out, wasn't it? I don't think the Power Morpher came out first. I think it was the Dagger first, but I'm not for sure.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, I grabbed that thing up, and out of all the stuff that I have had, I've sold off, everything like that, that is still the only one of the Legacy things that I still have that's original. It's still the exact same one that I bought at Toys R Us when it first came out. So
awesome.
It's a really cool thing. The only thing that does bother me a little bit is, the oils on your hands, the handling of it and stuff. You do get a little bit of a tarnish or a discoloration on the gold bits. But aside from that, it's just a great looking piece.
It is. It really is. Seth?
Well, mine segues off that one perfectly with Legacy Saba.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I love that thing so much. It was heavy. It felt like a real prop-sized thing, which it was. But the shade of gold they used for the chrome, the fact that there was enough metal to make it feel heavy, but not unwieldy. It was just an all-around great
That is the
piece.
most passionate I've heard you speak about something on here so far.
It's the most he's ever
I
spoken.
really liked Legacy Saba, and I regret selling
Yeah,
it.
I'm exactly the same way. The Saba, the Blade Blaster, and the Dragon Dagger. I've gotten rid of 2 of those. I still have the dagger, and I still regret it because I think those were 3 of the best roleplay items that we've ever had from anybody that has even tried.
Power
I
Sword is
think
really
there's
good
a lot
too.
of people. All of the legacy weapons were. I never owned any, unfortunately, but they all looked incredible, and you only ever heard good things about them.
I have the
And I
Power
think-
Sword, and it's really nice.
Yeah, I remember the gold Zeo staff went down to like I think 50 quid over here on sale at some point, and I was so tempted to get one. I just didn't have space for it because it's obviously quite a chunky thing.
It still goes for around that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But moving on from our speed round back into our main topic, we just spoke about our favourite kids' toys, or our favourite toys as kids, I should say. But obviously, our opinions change, and what we like about certain pieces of merchandise will change as we get older and turn into adult collectors. The grown-ups who work for a living and then use their hard-earned money to buy toys like a child.
Irresponsibly.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so did we have different favorite toys as adults, which I realise is a sentence that could go very different ways in a different podcast.
Not that kind of podcast.
Are we?
No, we're
That's
not,
the
are we?
portion of this conversation.
Yes.
We'll save that for the Patreon.
Ranger Nation after
I'll
dark.
go first because mine is kind of weird actually, and it's not technically Power Rangers; it's Super Sentai. But
That counts.
my favorite toy now is Ultimate Daiboken. I don't even know why.
No,
Oh,
that's a good
I like
choice.
those. Why I like those toys so much, but as soon as I saw them on the show, I wanted them. But unfortunately, that's when Bandai lost their mind and utterly ruined those toys. Those are still, hands down, the worst toys Bandai has ever made. American Overdrive or Drive Max Megazord is just inexcusable. So years later, I managed to find them on eBay, the original Japanese toys, for a decent price, more than I should spend on toys, but whatever. And they're just gorgeous. I mean, they're like collectible quality, even though they were basic line toys. They have chrome paint, and everyone does its own transformation thing and special features, and it's like a high-end toy in the basic line, and it's just gorgeous. I love it.
You mean you don't like skates on your Megazords? Bandai?
Oh my god,
It's so bad.
it's just
It's
still
so bad.
baffling. It's still baffling how bad those toys were.
And Marine doesn't even fold up. It doesn't even fold up to go in the small.
No, it doesn't.
It just sits there.
It was a bigger toy as well.
Yeah,
It was
They
huge.
made
Yeah,
the overall toy bigger, and somehow they was like, "This is more cost effective." It's like, but it's bigger. It's
even if they were
using
worried
more
about, like,
plastic.
the plastic itself is really low quality.
Oh, fair enough.
But-
So yeah, it's cheap in every way.
Oh, for sure. And the thing is, whether or not it was part of the where, Daiboken was, too small or had too many pinch points or whatever, which I think was what their reasoning was with not releasing Siren Builder, their Flashpoint Megazord or whatever it was. They released it as something else, but because there was a lot of pinch points, and Marine was small, it folded up, it could cause some issues. But when you make it larger, those issues kind of go away. So I still have that is one of the most baffling, even out of everything that Hasbro does, that is still probably the most puzzling of differences between the Japanese and what we actually got on the shelves from Bandai America.
See, I'm trying to think of what I would have as my favorite adult toy in that sense. Because I kind of stopped. I stopped buying as much, and I would just kind of appreciate them. Be like seeing people do reviews and things online. I'd be like, that looks brilliant. So there's many things that I don't own and have never owned that I think I would absolutely buy them if money was no option. But if I had to go with one that I had bought and that I always loved, it's also from Sentai rather than Power Rangers, and it's a tie between the Gong Changer from Geki Ranger and also the Psyblade, because both of them are amazing in their own ways, because you've got this amazing purple and shiny gold sleek looking wolf that opens up and has these really loud and nice lights and things like that. But then you've got the complete opposite in the Psyblade. You've got this huge blade fist thing that you just feel. I know it sounds weird to say, but you do feel quite like, oh yeah, I feel quite powerful when you're holding that, because you've just got this massive blade coming out of your hand. And it was a decent size, obviously. So I think I was like, I must have been, what year did that come out? I was a late teenager, like basically like into adulthood, I think, when it came out, or when I got it. Sorry, which is why I counted. That was one of the last like main toy line things I would get outside of like the odd figures here and there. I never really was much of a Zords person. I was as a kid, just not as an adult. But those would be probably my ones, just again for the design aspect, the paint application. Just it looks nice. They look premium, considering they're not technically. But if I had to go with one that I don't own, it's something that I would say is my favorite as an adult that I would want to get. And I think Jason has a couple of these, or at least one of them. The 3-0 figures.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I own one.
Yeah, Seth has one too.
Oh, brilliant! Then that's fantastic. Yeah. For those who don't know, obviously I have a lot of Hot Toys because I stopped buying Power Rangers for a while and invested money in multiple different Batmen. And yeah, I've always loved the 1/6 scale. I think the detail you can get on the posability and just that life likeness you can get, especially in photography side of stuff. So the 3-0 figures just look incredible, and I really hope they do more, but they've not announced any for quite some time. I know that they showed off. Did they show off a Ranger Slayer like teaser at a convention? But that's not released ever. I don't think.
I don't know if she's been released yet or not. I don't think she has.
No, I don't recall seeing. I don't recall seeing any photos of Ranger Slayer outside of the one where we saw her at a convention. But that's the thing, because of that, I feel like we're not going to get any more, unfortunately. Maybe they will with Once and Always coming out, who knows? But yeah, those would be my favourite adult, the favourite.
I just wish that they
would be the 3-0.
I just wish that they would revise the helmets just a little bit. The helmets are off.
Yeah, Ranger Slayer released.
Yeah, Ranger Slayer's off.
Oh, she did.
Bad. It's not good.
Oh, gosh.
There's certain angles, like with Red Ranger, that you can get almost a really good look of like, oh yeah, that's how the helmet's supposed to look. But then you look at it dead on, you go, that's not right. And there's some prop makers out there that are.
Draken's kind of the opposite.
Do what?
Draken is kind of the opposite. Head on, he looks great, but if you look at an angle,
really?
he is really
Interesting.
Weird. Yeah.
And that was actually one of them that I did want, but I was just like, nah, I felt okay having Armored Red, but aside from that, I don't feel like I need to get any more of them. Now if they do Lost Galaxy or something.
I think Armored Red would be the one I would get if I could get one. I think, again, just the red and gold combo each other really nicely.
Yeah, they do, and they actually kind of added a little bit of a weathering to the shield. I thought I was missing some paint on it, but it's not. It's kind of like almost like they've highlighted it just a little bit or made it look a little worn, but it looks pretty cool.
Okay.
But I'm happy with that one. But it goes back to kind of some of 3-0's problems that I kind of have with their stuff that's not Ranger oriented.
Yeah.
And so, that may be something.
Yeah. The only other 3-0 thing I have before, or I have in general actually, is Rick from The Walking Dead. The sculpt is off in a lot of angles, but some angles, again, like the helmet sculpts. It does work and it looks good, but the overall figure, it was relatively cheap. Obviously, just getting a human in an outfit, and I really like it. It was one of my favorite pieces at the time, considering price factor and everything.
Oh yeah,
else.
their prices
So I
work
feel
out
like
really well,
they-
and that's one way to look
yeah.
at it is if you can sacrifice a little bit of the accuracy, you can get a really decent figure for a really good price.
100%. Seth, we haven't heard your answer yet to your favorite collector, favorite collectible.
Quite new. The Lightning Collection Dino Thunder White Ranger.
With or
Ooh.
without the correct helmet.
When you get its helmet fixed, that is.
I was going to say, yeah, I would imagine fixed helmet.
Yeah, you know what? That actually is a good figure.
There's a small story two small stories behind that, actually.
Do tell.
When I was young, one of my most wanted toys was the original White Ranger figure from Bandai, the Dino Thunder White Ranger. And eventually, we found it at a secondhand store, and I was ecstatic. And then a week later, my cousin came over and broke its arm.
Oh man!
no.
You beat his
And then
ass.
you broke his arm.
No, because he would have won.
Aw.
But for years, I'd always wanted to get it back. And then when Hasbro announced that, I was so excited. Then they botched the helmet. But a very good friend of mine and one of our fellow podcasters, who's not here today, offered to fix it for me. He gave it a really nice paint job. And it's, to this day, my current favorite Power Ranger toy.
Lovely. And Bryce, did you have a...
So I guess another GameStop story, probably the Legacy Tiger Zord, because that was another one they were selling while I was working there, and I was just thinking, well, if I could afford that, I really want it.
Yeah, see, I saw him in person a few times, like when they was at London Expo, like the MCM Bandai would often have stuff on display. They always looked really nice, all the Legacy Megazords and that. But I just, again, like I said, where I've never really been into the mecha side of stuff, I've never really wanted to hand over the money for them. But they always looked really, really nicely done and good display pieces.
The Legacy Tiger Zord is great. It's beautiful. It just doesn't work with the rest of the Thunder Zords.
Oh,
okay.
it doesn't?
It's great on its own, just displayed or to play with, but
It technically works with them, it just doesn't work well.
no. They made a lot of sacrifices for the Zord builder aspect. And they just don't work.
Jason, what's yours?
So, let's see. Mine's going to go off of probably John's answer just a little bit, but I'm going to go for the roleplay side of it. I think the Axelar from Bokanger is probably one of the best Japanese toys that's been made. And there's some
I
reasons.
always wanted that as a kid.
Yeah, and I'll go into a little
Well,
bit
as a kid.
why.
But yeah.
Yeah, well, our man-childness, I guess. Our kid.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the term is now? Kid alt.
I think so.
Anyway, but I think there's a lot of things that I look for in a role play item, and I think toys have gone a little too far with let's give it as many collectible gimmicks, sounds as possible. And while that's okay,
Yes.
and while I really love the simplicity of like a Chrono Changer or a Ginga Brace or something like that, I think that you do need to find kind of a nice middle ground. And there's two instances of that I think work extremely well. One is the Axelar from Bokanger. And the reason being is there's nothing else you have to collect for it. It's all in the changer. And so you get to have that nice flip around screen. If you can flip it right, you can actually do it just like the show. But you get, you can activate the morph sounds. You can activate all the Zord sounds. You can activate the Megazords. You can activate the spinning wheel on the bottom that gives, all these things, their go ahead to form or morph or whatever. You get the black light in it too. So you you have a lot of multiple functions on it that are kind of fun. You can play with it for a really long time, and it doesn't require anything else. You can just use it as is. The flip side of that is, I think the Gaba revolver and the Giga Gaba revolver from Coruzure is probably one of the best collectible gimmick sound driven devices that we've ever had too. So there's kind of both ends of the spectrum. One that's just kind of a nice altogether thing, and then one that has a really nice collectible with it that doesn't begin to be too obtrusive. So those would be my two choices. I have a hard time deciding between both of them.
I can see why I'd have a hard time as well, actually, in that. I'm going to tangent off of Seth's answer there to go into another quick speed round. Favorite Lightning Collection figure? I'm guessing we all know Seth, unless he's yeah, unless he's going to change his mind. So I'm going to take this question over to Bryce.
Why would you start with me?
For that very reason.
Comedy.
No, I don't collect. I don't do the Lightning Collection. I don't know, Shelby, just because it was a good likeness, and that's the only Ranger actor I've met in real life.
John.
I'd have to go with probably two equally, Lord Zed and Goldar. I think they're both really well done. They look great. I'm not a big figure collector, but I did get most of the base MMPR ones, and I love Goldar and Lord Zed.
See, I was interested that you've picked two monsters, essentially, or where you would call them, because they're not monsters in the traditional sense. Villains, if you will.
I just think...
Yeah, are you talking in the original Zed release from Wave 1, or the one that came with the retail?
I have Wave 1, yeah. The Wave 1 Goldar from GameStop.
Yeah.
With the wings.
Oh, yeah, with the wings, yeah. Jason?
And that's kind of a tough one, because there's a lot of good ones that are held back by just the most stupidest of things. Like,
that's just a common thing for Hasbro.
It's Hasbro in a nutshell.
So, I like In Space Silver, but he's missing a lot of detail. So I'm thinking I'm probably just going to stick with probably Lost Galaxy Red, because I have 3 of those damn things, because I bought all the pieces for I had to buy like 5 lots, but I ended up getting all the pieces for the Battleizer. And I've actually outfitted one of my legacy figures of Lost Galaxy Red with the Battleizer armor. It fits perfectly. So I've got a regular version, and then I've got the one that was released without the Quasar Saber, and I've got one that actually has the armor on it. So that's probably my favorite, is the Lost Galaxy Red.
See, I really liked Lost Galaxy Red as well, but I have, again, as much as I give a lot of slack to the Lightning Collection, there are 3 figures that I feel like really stand out for me. You mentioned one of them, actually, which was In Space Silver. I just feel like, I know he's missing a few details, but overall, the shade of silvering and then the gold edges that they've used is really eye-catching, even when he's on a shelf with a load of other things. So I really, really like how they've done that. The original, the very first toy that they showed off with, the Mighty Morphin White, I feel like they put twice the amount of effort into that figure than they have any other one.
Yeah.
Because it just looks, apart from maybe the actual human head, the rest of it, everything's been done so well. Everything's been painted super accurately. It just looks fantastic as a figure. It's one of the best representations, I think, of Mighty Morphin White you can get, because I feel like the figure arts just looked a little too skinny, in my opinion. And then I'd say my joint top favorite Lightning Collection would be nothing to do with the character or even the season he was from Wave 3, might be Wave 2 actually, of the Lightning Collection. Beast Morphers Gold. because it's the only time that I can think of they painted them actually gold. And again, it's like the whole silver thing. It's just the presence it has from being a genuine gold shine makes a world of difference.
Agreed.
Caramel.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then they went to it was Wave 2 because Wave 3 was the caramel dino charge.
With no white paint.
Yeah, I like. Oh, with no white neck. Yeah, that's right. I remember asking about that, and they was like, "Oh, we just thought, that's accurate." no, you didn't. But yeah, like I don't have any sentimental feelings or attachment for Beast Morphers or Go Busters, but when I got the Nate figure, the gold on the design it looks incredible. It's such a nicely done figure, and I think again, there's like not many figures, if any, outside of the Sentai vinyl. Would there be any others? I'm not really familiar with Sentai figure races, but I don't think there's.
Would a Ranger key count?
Well, yeah, there you go. You've got Sentai vinyl and a Ranger key. So to have an actual representation of a figure like that be done that well, you wouldn't find that nowadays. Yeah. But yeah, it's really
there
nice.
was something about that first wave of figures with that White Ranger that, I don't know, felt like it was worth the $20 that they were at the time.
Oh,
and even though people were having, their Dino Charge reds breaking at the arms because there was some glue on them or whatever, and, some of the head sculpts, but in some sloppy paint here and there, of course, we can always nitpick it to death. But, Kruger was a really good figure, I feel. The sculpt of the dog head was amazing. To this day, that's probably one of my favorite sculpts that Hasbro's done. I mean, hands down, I still think that is one of the best ones. But
I mean, it even came with, if I remember correctly, it came with a little neck piece to put, didn't it? Like the little collar. They wouldn't do that now. They would just give you the head and be like, "Oh yeah, well, you don't worry about the neck. You're not going to see it." And stuff like that. But
they would say they would, but not include it.
That far ahead. All that, yeah. Or you'd get 5 of them.
Right, yeah.
But White Ranger had gold on it. The shield had gold. It wasn't the caramel color. It was.
Yes.
Dino Charge Red had painted souls. There was stuff about, and Zed just was Zed, even though his staff, I guess, if I remember right, that was the first one that had the staff backwards. But aside from that, those figures felt like, to me, $20 figures. And maybe for another wave or two, they were probably kind of at that point as well, Beast Morphers Gold and stuff. But then we really started hitting that point of, okay, are these worth $20? And I still think that first wave is definitely one of the highlights of the Lightning collection.
Oh, 100%, yeah. I'd say those first 3, maybe just the first 3 waves, because then you had Dino Charge Gold, which was should have been a warning sign and a bit of a red flag to everyone. And then in Dino Charge, and then in the 4th wave is where you had Rocky missing his weapons, and when they showed Jack in the convention, when they announced Jack with a cosplay photo, and you're like, "Oh, that's not great." We should have seen where this line was headed way in the past. I'm going to go into another speed round question here, only because it's slightly linked to what we were just talking about in terms of figures. But it's not a favourite, it's a least favourite. And it's changed many a time over the years between Bandai and Hasbro. Least favourite body sculpt.
Ooh.
Because we would often get some brilliant ones, like Jungle Fury. Everyone seems to... I don't know anyone who didn't like the Jungle Fury figures in terms of like representation of just a human body and anatomy. But we've had some bad ones. So and that's across mainline, legacy line, Lightning Collection, and the main line for Hasbro as well. So
I think I already have mine.
I have 2 in mind that I think will come up. So let's start with you.
Mystic 4.
Oh, okay. Did not expect. No. What's wrong with Mystic Force figures? I thought they were decent.
The girls were decent. The girls were some of their better ones, but the guys, I think, were not the peak, because the peak would have been the next season, but close to the peak of the most muscled they ever were. But also, the guys had issue where the knee joints would always crack.
Oh, mine did. I literally, out of that line, I only had Mystic Force blue and green. And blue survived, but green, leg cracked. I didn't know that was a common thing.
Yep.
Wow.
I had yellow in his cracks.
My goodness. But as you said, the next season is what I would vote for. The Operation Overdrive figures. Jesus bloody girl. What was they thinking with that line?
Well,
it was awful.
Wait until you got Mercury, and they had that stupid thing on the chest.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yes.
the mission response vehicle.
Oh, don't pretend like you remember the name. No one remembers that name.
Yes, I do.
Response.
It was the ultimate mission response vehicle.
My God.
The only way to get Mercury Zord, technically.
Yeah, that was... they really were losing the plot, weren't they? But they still had so far to go until they fully lost everything. But yeah, no, those Overdrive figures, they were... I don't get why they were so chunky, especially because they then had the Battleizer figures early in the season, which were like the ones that came from Japan, where it was just their Zord that kind of came apart and became armor. They were like proportioned like a human.
Yep.
So, oh God, yeah, that photo, Jesus Christ.
I think it's awful.
That looks like a knockoff. That looks like a like McDonald's kind of toy.
It's just not good all the way around.
But hey, the silver's actually silver.
That's true.
Well, that's true. They've got one up on
Actually,
Hasbro.
I did find one of those at vintage stock the other day of that Mercury Ranger. Complete, just I couldn't bring myself to buy it because that chest.
Yeah, that's mad. But I'm actually really looking forward to a Lightning Collection Mercury Ranger. I feel like if Hasbro can keep up decent silver like they did within Space Silver, it could be a really, really nice figure.
Here's kind of the thing too.
But I'm worried that they'll pull in a Mega Ranger and have the orange stripes be like, 5 miles thick, and just ruin the whole aesthetic of the figure.
Recently with their Transformers stuff, they have been there's a couple of figures, well, one in particular, that they have actually painted all silver. They didn't go with any kind of gray plastic or anything like that. The whole figure is painted silver. So maybe they'll take a note from that book. Maybe not. But we'll see what they do.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. I was about to call you Tai Chi then. Jason, what's your least favorite body sculpt?
I might be an odd one out here. I do have a problem with the roided out figures, but I'm going to go with the Action Hero line that we got as far as like the re-release of all the Rangers and everything in the same type of body sculpt. Yep.
Oh, for Megaforce.
I hate those. I hate those with a passion, and there's a reason why. They're
just
they're weird. They're a little
bit
top
weird.
heavy, and that was because they did fix them on the legs. The part above the boot was actually elongated a little bit for later figures, which made them look a little bit better. But they use all the same body, and all the details are just painted on like tampons. So they're not. There's no individuality about them. You're buying the same figure over and over and over and over and over and over again. Just with a different head or a different weapon. Kind of thing. And Mystic Force didn't even have a cape. Oh yeah. So just getting to the point of re-releasing stuff. You're re-releasing them kind of in the exact same look for some people like myself that want figures in the same realm, but I think they went about it quite the wrong way. So, but hey, it was.
You speaking about just painting over the applications. Do you remember those anniversary figures? I think it was around Mystic Force that came out, where they literally No, Overdrive was when they then did all the Red Rangers, but then Mystic Force they
Yeah.
did the first
Yeah.
5
Oh.
and then Mystic Force. But again,
Really?
they just painted over everything. I'm trying to share an image now
Yeah.
so that you can see. And it was ridiculous. They literally
Only added by
they
the
were
overdrive
terrible.
ones. Yeah,
They
I
were
have
royal.
only
never
added
seen
by the
these.
overdrive ones putting chrome chess pieces on them.
Yes, that's right. God, they were something. My word. John.
Yeah, I'm not a big figure person, but just I was always kind of appalled at the sculpting of the legacy figures.
This is what the Overdrive. The one I expected to hear was Legacy.
Just
Yeah.
they don't look human. That's not how human muscles work. That's not how waistlines and breasts work. That's
We talking about the legacy figures or the Cosmic Fury suits?
Oh.
it's just they're grotesque. And I think for all of the quality issues Hasbro has, at least they sculpt their figures to look human.
Yeah, no, that is very true. They at least look like they're from the
Well, it
planet
doesn't help that whenever
we're
you
on.
take each one of them out of their package, they're all bow-legged anyway, and you have to figure out how in the
Oh,
world
God,
do I
yeah, that's annoying.
fix this? And sometimes heating them up.
Yeah, I think the one that even just stands out in my mind was In Space Pink and Yellow. I don't know. Obviously, it was the same sculptures as all the other females, but for some reason, on those ones specifically, it looked so bad. I don't know if it's because the chest decal, obviously of the squares, goes right along their chest, so it just made it look ridiculous. But yeah, they were just awful in terms of body sculpt. Bryce.
So again, I don't have that detailed an opinion on the toys as the rest of you. So I guess just in general, the least favorite toys I had growing up were always either the ones that didn't have a lot of articulation, like I had a Ninjetti White figure that couldn't really bend its knees or elbows, and again, just the pointed out super muscle rangers that Cosmic Fury clearly took its inspiration from. Funny story about the Ninjetti White though, because I have no idea where it came from. Just one day I went to my room and the toy was just there, not even in a package or anything. The action figure was just sitting in my room. I'm asking both my
Now, Bryce,
yes.
sorry to interrupt. Are you sure you're not confusing this with the plot of Toy Story 2?
Honestly, I might be, because again, as both my parents, none of them remember buying it. Like, there was just this random Power Rangers toy in my room, and nobody knew where it came from.
I mean, I wouldn't complain. I'd love that nowadays.
Off-season
Yeah.
Santa.
It'll be awesome, except again, it was one of my least favorite toys because just it didn't do a lot of movements. Again, the joints didn't move, and then one of the elbows was just always bent at an angle. So it was just an impossible toy to pose,
So-
except for in that one specific pose they clearly wanted you to use.
So you got a mystery-free toy, and you're complaining.
Huh?
You got a mystery-free toy out of nowhere, and you're still
Now,
complaining.
Mr. Ungrateful here.
Had it been a Blue Ranger, I would have shut up. But no, it was just it was just Ninjetti White.
Trying to push that Tommy agenda.
Right. Somebody's clearly trying to force Tommy on me. Didn't work.
Moving on to, I have one more speed round question, and it's a bit more of a complexy question, but I want people's gut reaction to what they feel they most align with. As we know, the Spirit Rangers from Jungle Fury started out as just a toy, and we was all like, what are Bandai doing? Why are they making unnecessary characters? And then, lo and behold, their master modes appeared in the show. But I have a question for you. Which design do you prefer? Do you prefer the toy-only regular Elephant Bat and Shark Rangers, or do you prefer the Master Mode Elephant Bat and Shark
For
Rangers?
the Master Mode.
Master mode.
The Master Mode.
Well, that was nice and quick, wasn't it?
I think
Lovely.
the white looks better than the black.
Bye, everybody. Yeah, no, I would agree. I think the master modes do look nicer. Although I feel like the white looks, or it might be the black actually. One of the shades look a bit weird on the Bat Ranger, as if like it's not in spandex, it's in more of a cloth. And I don't know if that's just the lighting in the episodes or what, but it
I
looks a
think
bit weird.
the Spirit Ranger designs in general are just like, dang, they're perfect. Especially the shark one. I think
Yeah, the shark one's the
Bat
best
Ranger
one.
would be my favorite if his helmet was smaller. I think the ears are just too big. It's kind
Went
of
overboard on the
Yeah, my favorite.
helmet.
That would be my favorite if they didn't use my favorite shade of blue for sure.
Nah, I still go with elephant.
Yeah, that
No, I do. That's
no
my
one,
favorite.
no one cares about
That's-
elephant. No.
No, he looks really
That-
good.
That's probably my favorite.
Yay!
A good
I
shade
think
of
it's
green.
got a good helmet shape. I think the pattern is really nice on it. I mean, shark's fine, but nah, got to go with the elephant.
I think that.
I love the.
My bad. I was just going to say that I think that the Spirit Rangers definitely should have been like the standard set for any like for U.S. original suits going forward. Know where I'm going with this again.
Oh yeah.
Elgar? No, yeah. I don't know. I do agree. I think in terms of actual suit design, I don't know if they were designed in Japan and then just never not used.
What's
Pretty sure they were Plex designed from
Yep.
Bandai.
Okay. Because yeah, they're too good to be American made.
Never should have dropped Plex.
But that reminds me.
Yes.
My favorite American suit, the Paleo Rangers.
Which were toy exclusive. Look at Seth bringing it back around.
I love those suits so much. I was so upset they weren't in the show.
I remember the common talk online at the time was because obviously Samurai didn't follow on from RPM, that this was trying to be initially obviously we had the MMPR reversioning. This was Bandai's attempt to kind of design Samurai because they've got like the coat effect, you know, like have the kimono effect on Samurai.
You do look more like Shinkenger.
Everyone was like, "Oh, this is like their version of Samurai," and I don't agree on it. I think I can see maybe they may have taken some inspiration from it potentially, but I feel like that would happen way too.
I see more.
They're very much Go On.
I see more Shinkenger here than Go Onger.
I love the
One day I will
Rangers
get a
helmet.
complete set of these.
I hope these actually. I would love to have seen these be used.
That actually would have been cool.
I love them.
Mainly just because it means we would have more Power Rangers in RPM. It would have been.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think like who in RPM would have been left to even like be these three Rangers.
People wanted the Mammoths to be Scott's dead brother.
Oh, nope. Keep him dead. I really like that they did. Nah, not as mean as that sounds. I like that kept him dead. They didn't just be like he was secretly alive and captured by the bad guys this whole time. No, it was good that he died and like stayed dead.
I always like to imagine the gray one as a girl, so I imagine that could be Tanaya.
Or Dr. K.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Obviously, the figure is male because Bandai.
Because Bandai.
I wouldn't make any female figures if they didn't have to.
And then would one be Scott's dad or the mob boss that Ziggy owed money to?
Oh yeah, Santa Claus in future season.
My last speed round question, unfortunately, links back to Hasbro. We have to talk about them again. But we all probably have, even if we're not figure collectors, I understand we probably might appreciate and just like to see what certain characters would come out like within the Lightning Collection. So, what is everyone's current most desired future Lightning Collection figure? Let's start with. Well, I don't know yours, Seth, unless you've just been talking about them. The Paleo figures.
No. But The Lightning Collection Dark Ranger,
Oh, yeah, of
please,
course.
for the comics.
Ah,
Or the
yeah,
Talon
that makes
Ranger,
sense.
as I will always know
Why
them
did I-
as.
Power Ranger
Why did I think we
Talon.
already had that?
No, he's never gotten a figure.
No, that's true. He's never got a figure at all, has he?
No.
Actually, that's true.
He's in the comics, so he might.
Well,
As a Ranger King.
As a Ranger Key,
I feel like with the amount of work they're doing from the comics, I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually pull
Yeah,
him out
Definitely
to do
possible.
that. They've already
he's got a
mold,
Ranger Key. He's in the
so,
comics. He's playable in Legacy Wars. Like, might as well now.
Yeah. Move over to John.
Honestly, I would kind of like to see King Mondo. I just think that
Oh.
could be a really cool figure.
That would be good, actually. And I feel like the fact we've seen them do the bigger monsters
Right.
now as well in their deluxe waves and things, that we know we can kind of picture how they would do it. A
And
little
also,
bit.
I think
Um,
Zeo was popular for them, so there's still water left in that
Yeah.
well.
That's true. Yeah. That'd be, I'm sorry, I was just sitting there picturing it. I can really see it being quite nice,
It
actually.
could be. It wouldn't be, but it could be.
Well, it could be if they had a Liverpool-based 3D artist on their team. If only that were the
Wink,
case.
wink.
Feel better, Jay. Jason.
Wow. So one for sure is Magishine, or I just
Oh,
yeah,
that would
Garrot.
be nice.
I have a feeling though they're gonna muck it up pretty bad, but that is one. Well, I mean,
Caramel.
the thing is, Bandai never released one, so here's Hasbro's chance to give us something. Of course, Bandai Japan did, but aside from that, I will say that there's the Thunder Rangers are really high on my list of wanting really bad.
Yeah.
So, probably those three, any of those three, as a tease, or they're next on the docket kind of thing, it would just kind of make me ecstatic. Even though I have my differences with them right now, those would probably be three figures that I would buy, even if they were complete and utter crap. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't like saying that because I don't want to give them my money for crap, but I can fix their crap for the most part. So not a lot of people can, and I understand that,
Yeah.
but I can fix it a little bit, so I'll just do it.
Bryce?
So Jason definitely took one of mine. I was going to say the Thunder Rangers, but one that I definitely want to see, just because it's one of my favorite suits in both Power Rangers and Sentai in general, is the Jungle Fury Wolf Ranger.
See, that was going to be my one, but where there's no belt on them, I really worry how they'll come out with the current body sculpts we have. I don't know if that'll make the body sculpts better or worse.
Oh, you can just look at the putty or the Z
Yeah, that
putty.
is true. Yeah.
That's true. That's very true. But yeah, if mine wasn't the Wolf Ranger, it would be the Rhino Ranger from Jungle Fury, because I feel like MMPR White looks brilliant, Dino Thunder White looks brilliant, Lord Draken looks good enough. They seem to do quite well with White Rangers. And Geki Chopper is a favourite of mine, and so is Dom as the Rhino Ranger. So yeah, I just think if they were able to do a well sculpted and hopefully somewhat decently painted Rhino Morpher, that could be a really, really nice figure. So that would be my go-to, most desired Lightning collection.
I would love to see that too.
Yeah, you can kind of picture it a little bit, and it looks really good. But then obviously it'll have like one hand. in someone else's head, probably.
They'll do a
Now,
perfect Zane like this, saying it's Dominic.
That's true. Now, before we wrap up here, we tweeted that we were recording an episode, and we asked for some people to reply if they wanted a shout out at the end. So this is a quick shout out to both Big Mike and Toku Waffle. Thank you for your support. Thank you for following us and for listening to the podcast.
Go Waffle.
We love all of our
Absolutely.
listeners.
We really do. And now we just want to say thank you again to everyone who has listened to this episode. Thank you so much. Your support really does help us out. We like doing this just for fun, but we also like being able to share it with everyone, because why not? You know, that's just a sharing is caring, as they say. We have some amazing things planned. I won't give too much away. And I can always cut this out if we need to, because it might already have happened by the time this comes out. Who knows? But yeah, we have some amazing things planned. So stay around, not stick around, stay around. And in the immortal words of Hasbro, stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye-bye.